Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and this morning's edition comes to you from Prague in the Czech Republic for Wednesday, the 9th of November. And the big news, of course, is it's all but certain, as I record this, that it looks like Donald Trump is the new president of the US. So that's having a big effect on markets. We start with the dollar index down almost 2%, so a big fall for the dollar basket index there. No clear downside targets to the downside. I mean, this move is significant, but the medium and long-term picture is still bullish, but we can see here that we've pulled right through the cloud, so that's really key now, short-term bearish. Not through yet on the daily or the weekly chart, so the big question is this 2% move in the dollar the start of something bigger? And at the moment, it's too hard to call. If we look at the euro, of course, the change in the dollar, it's a similar change in the other direction for the euro. Euro's up around 2% against the dollar this morning. Taking us into bullish territory. We don't really have any clear upside targets. Interestingly, before yesterday, we did have a target of 112. We're at 112.40, so that target is now met. We still have these medium-term downside targets, so the picture for the euro is still pretty bearish in the medium and long term. But at the moment, we're just starting to poke through the clouds. So again, it's the extent of this move is defined by what happens after this initial reaction. So as the days progress, we will start to see the true picture. At the moment, we're being taken right to support and resistance levels. If we look at the Japanese yen, the yen is very much a proxy for risk, of course, and we're seeing here a 2.5% move, so slightly bigger move, flight to the yen. It has been the dollar has been bearish against the yen in the long run, and in the medium term we're just changing trend. We're still just above the cloud, but on the short term now below. We've put in a spike low here. If we go even lower, that's suggesting an 8% downside for the dollar. So dollar strength has been the theme, but of course this move does change things quite a bit. If we look at sterling, actually not as strong, only here about just under 1%, and really just struggling to activate this 133 target this morning. So sterling weakness is still there, in that we're not seeing the same extent of move against the dollar. So of course, we're at 125. That it is still quite significant, but it is not moving as much as the other currencies. And if we look at the sterling against the euro, we see that's down 1%. That euro increase against the dollar of 2%, whereas sterling is only up 1%. Sterling still a relative underperformer. Interestingly, Australia dollar, if we look at sterling against Australia dollar, there's a 2.5% move here. So Australian dollar has shown considerable weakness, and here we see that in the move here above the clouds. So really significant, bearish, and just turned a bit of bullish in the short term. Target of 166. We're at 164.5 at the moment. So a little bit more upside potential here, but the long-term picture is still pretty bearish for sterling. Of course, the big story will be the markets, and of course all the US markets are closed as we look at this. So it's really going to the futures markets, and the S&P 500 future is down 4%. So we're seeing a significant move there down below the cloud. It's not enough yet to really change the long-term picture, but this medium-term picture coming under threat. And if we look at the Nasdaq, also down 4.5%. Is significant as well. So quite interesting there that we're seeing these moves to the downside in the markets. Of course, what it means for European markets, we're still waiting for the European markets to open. But if we take a look at the Nikkei index, we see here that it's bearish as well. We've moved to a short-term bearish. We've still got around 2% downside. We've got a 5.6% move here, and we are just seeing again the medium-term picture coming under pressure. The long-term picture has been bearish for some time. Interestingly, China has barely reacted. Hang Seng has reacted by about just under 3%, so we're seeing there a little bit more of a reaction than we are seeing on the mainland Chinese markets. India down 3.5%, so that's also having a very significant effect. And then if we also look at the Australian market, down 2%. Not falling as much. Interestingly, the Indian market just turning bearish there, so and the Australian market is pretty bearish now on all fronts as well. Looking to commodities, Brent crude down 1.3%, has been down by as much as 2% this morning, and we are now below the cloud quite convincingly. This $45 level on Brent really coming under pressure, so that's pretty key as well. We're really seeing volatility in the crude market. It's falling anywhere between 2 and 3 and 4%. It's all over the place this morning, and the same thing for WTI. We're seeing here as well. That market is falling away too. If we look at things like US nat gas, nearly everything is struggling with this market re-rating in bearish territory here, just turning bearish on the daily, and that's now that weekly chart just not managing to go into bullish territory. Something like coffee, where we've seen big moves of late, we're seeing on the coffee market quite significant moves to the downside, down about 3%. So again, really significant there as well. But we are seeing that this is holding the bullish trend. So at the moment, although we've got 6% downside on this short-term chart, we are still in bullish mode on most markets. Of course, the big story is gold. Gold up 3.5%. So long-term bullish gold with these upside targets. Looks like this short-term target this long-term downside target is not going to play its hand now. It's starting to get back above the cloud here, and we've got a short-term upside target of 11% if we can pull back and then go higher. So it will be very interesting to see that. And if we look at silver, much the same picture here with silver. We're seeing upside potential here as well, so quite key. Just last of all, we'll take a look at the US Treasuries. The yield down about 2.5%, so that's quite significant as we see the markets really just selling off across the board. So basically, the winners are the yen and gold, euro, and then pretty well everything else is falling away. But this dollar index, it's really volatile. Now down 1.5%, was down 2 just when we started looking at this. So we are seeing a lot of volatility playing in. Today's going to be a pretty challenging day on the markets. Until tomorrow, when we can put all of this into context, happy charting. See you then.